Thus has this most secret doctrine been taught by me, O blameless one. By knowing this, a man will become wise and will have fulfilled all his duties, O Bhārata, Arjuna. Shri Krishna addresses Arjuna as Anagha, one who is blameless and free from sin. Agha means sin, Anagha means one who is blameless and free from sin. Shri Krishna tells Arjuna that Arjuna is blameless and free from sin. Why did Arjuna become blameless and free from sin? Because one who is listening to such a nice and great doctrine, then how can he possibly remain sinful and with blame? That is why Shri Krishna addresses Arjuna as the blameless one and one who is free from sin. Shri Krishna also addresses Arjuna as Bhārata, because Arjuna is of the lineage of Bharat. Shri Krishna uses the word iti, meaning thus and in this way. Shri Krishna says that this most secret and complete secret doctrine, this completely hidden mystery, and this most secret of all wisdoms, has been spoken and taught by him. Shri Krishna says that he has said this and he has taught this. The words etad, buddhva, are used meaning by knowing this. By knowing this, what does a person become like? He becomes buddhiman, wise, and after he becomes buddhiman, then he will become kritkritya and will have fulfilled all his duties. The word kritkritya means one who has completed all his duties for which he came into this world. This is kritkritya. He will have fulfilled all his duties, all his works, and all his assignments. This chapter has been called a shastra in this verse. Why is this secret doctrine and this completely secret mystery called shastra? This is because when one knows this, then they know the material world in truth. God has said this in the 4th verse, that one should the relationships on leads one to have the material world and go to seek the refuge in the Supreme Soul. In the 11th verse, which God says that the third thing in the 11th verse, that one should know that the Supreme Truth is he who established is in oneself. Then everything else, including May, Avesh, Manam, and everything comes into this as well. Mame Vesho Jivo Loke, Jiva Buddha Sanatana. A fragment or fraction of my own self becomes a living soul, eternal in the world of life. God said that one should know the Supreme Soul and the Supreme Truth with established in oneself. In the 15th verse, God said to know the truth through the study of the Vedas. This is the secret. The 5th thing is in the 19th verse that we have just looked at, where after knowing God as Purushottam, the Supreme Being, we should worship him with all our being, with our whole spirit. This is why Shri Krishna said, Sarva Bhavena Mam Pajati. Worship me with all your being, with your whole spirit. And in the end, God said in this verse that Iti Guhiyatam Shastram. This is the most secret doctrine. And Etad Buddha, by knowing this. Therefore, one should know this most secret doctrine and this completely mysterious truth. This is the secret. Only then can one find the Supreme Soul. When one does this, then they get the experience of being kritakritya, fulfilling all duties that they came into this world for. And when can one get the experience of kritakritya? It is when one attains the Supreme Soul. When does a child ultimately get peace? It is when it goes and sits on his mother's lap. Otherwise, if you rattle a toy in front of the child, give the child chocolates, give the child toys, make the child go up and down and play with the child, then all of these are temporary things. When does a child get ultimate peace? It is when he reaches his mother's lap, because this is when the child immediately goes to sleep. This is the supreme peace. In the same way, one can get power, wealth, fame, respect, or anything else they may get in the material world. One will get all of this, and there is no denying this, because the child will want a chocolate, a toy, a rattle, and everything. But when a child takes all of this and goes to sit in the mother's lap, then this is the best behaved child of all. The child may take chocolate from an uncle and a rattle from a wife, but after taking one of this, he goes and sits in his mother's lap and thinks, wow, how much do I enjoy all this? Therefore, in the material world, a Kritakritya person is well behaved and has fulfilled all his duties, and such a person who gets and attains fame, wealth, power, and all of this in the material world. But ultimately the child takes all of this and goes and sits in the lap of God, saying that, Lord, I am yours. That is why Sri Krishna said, Sarva Bhavina Mam Bhajati. Worship me with all your being, with your whole spirit, in the last verse. This is what such a devotee does. By using the word etad buddha, by knowing this, God has said 4 things that he is described in this chapter. What is etad buddha? By knowing this in reference to, and therefore what do you have to know? You should know the reality about the material world, the form of the individual soul, the power of God, and the 4th is the secrecy of the Supreme Soul, and the secret of the Supreme Soul, and that the Supreme Soul is hidden. One who knows these 4 things about the material world is what he himself is, what the Supreme Soul is, and how the Lord is hidden. One who has known these 4 things, after knowing them, there remains nothing for him to know in the material world, and there remains nothing left for him to do in the material world. That is why he becomes Grakritya, fulfilling all the duties that they came into this world for. And the ultimate cause of this material world can only be this. Who can be called a good person? A person who goes having fulfilled all the duties that they came into this world for can be called a good person. First of all, find the work that we have come for in the material world. And when we go, having completed that work, then it can be said that we have become Gurgurtya, fulfilling all duties that they came into this world for. Until that does not happen, then one is in the state of Akragritya, not fulfilling all the duties that they came into this world for, and their works remain incomplete. One experiences Gritya, fulfilling all the duties that they came into this world for. While bowing down to the 15th chapter of the Gita, we make a prayer to the Supreme Soul that, Lord, we pray that your blessings be forever showered upon us, so that we get the experience of the Gritya, fulfilling all duties that we came to this world for in life. With this divine feeling, we bow down to the 15th chapter of the Gita. End of chapter.